Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Burn Bootcamp podcast. It's DK, your visionary and co-founder of Burn Bootcamp, and I enjoy speaking with you on these podcasts, and I'm very grateful that you're here because you don't have to be, and you could easily just show up, do your workout, go through the motions, do the push-ups. The fact that you're here shows me that, hey, this is a lifestyle for you. I'm not only just showing up physically, but I'm showing up mentally. I'm showing up emotionally. And, you know, one of the hardest things to do when you're somebody like yourself that's committed to showing up no matter what, one of the hardest things to do is to stay consistent. And people ask me all the time, because obviously Burn is a very successful organization and we're just getting started, and in my mind, and we are successful, but, you know, the perception is it's a very successful organization. Okay, appreciate that. Why? Well, it's consistent. We've been saying the same thing since 2012. We've been doing the same thing since 2012. We've been making podcasts since 2015 when podcasts became a thing, or 16. And it's consistently being dedicated to that long run and to that vision, okay? And I know that's you because you're here listening. And so the thing that disrupts us committed warriors is the inherent inconsistencies that come from travel, that come from holiday, that come from breaking that routine, right? Because as much as we all hear these influencers and gurus and people out there, coaches, life coaches saying like, hey, get in a routine, wake up at the same time every day, do the same thing every day, you know, get into that habit. You have to do that. If you don't do that, you can't be successful. It's like, man, I hear you guys. I'm just not sure how many people that you're talking to and that how many people that you're actually interacting with and listening to their problems, because life is chaotic. In nature, there's no such thing as a perfect line. Even light rays, the most perfect thing in nature, as soon as they hit something, bend. There's no such thing as that kind of straight line. There's no such thing as perfection. And so there's going to be these ups and downs. You have to be prepared. The only way that you could get off track and, you know, kind of take steps backwards in terms of if success was consistency and dedication would be to not plan ahead or not anticipate the road ahead, and then come upon some travel that takes you out of your routine, and then chaos because you weren't anticipating it. Okay? Quick example. How many of you have come across somebody that was rude or somebody that wasn't kind to you, somebody that might have been straight up like resentful or bitter, and you came across them and they kind of surprised you out of nowhere, right? And when they said something to you, it just jarred you because you're like, oh my gosh, what like a rude thing to say. Well, you were surprised by that interaction because you didn't wake up that day assuming that you were going to run into somebody that was going to be rude to you and anticipate how your reaction was going to be when that happened. And it does inevitably happen almost every day, doesn't it? And you're like, oh, how rude. I mean, how could they be so rude to me? Well, because people are rude. And if you don't anticipate that, you're going to be surprised. It's going to take you out of your game and you're going to, boom, be rude back, even though that's not who you are. That's not your intentions. That's not your nature. Okay? It's not your intentions to break away from your fitness routine. It's not your nature to break away from your fitness routine. But if you do not anticipate how travel can throw you off, then you're in for a up and down journey, one that's more chaotic and one that has more pain or suffering than you actually need. So what my goal is with you on the podcast is to just do one thing and one thing only, and that's to eliminate unnecessary pain. Eliminate unnecessary pain from your life. Make progress easier, make it more predictable, make it more effective. Okay? So I travel a lot, you guys. I don't think that's any secret. Last year, I believe I was at roughly 80 gyms, 85 gyms. I should count. Some 80 or 85. And sometimes I'm coming from East Coast to West Coast and I'm landing in Salt Lake City. I'm going to one of our West Coast headquarter gyms in Utah. And, you know, I got to be there at 5 a.m. and I came from the East Coast, okay? And then I got to be there all day long, and I want to be there all day long until 8:30 at night. And then I got a dinner because there's a vendor or there's, a development professional, or there's a candidate to develop a franchise in that area, and I've got to go to dinner. All right, and then the next day we wake up, do it all over again, and I fly out that night. Okay, and I go back the other way. Yeah, and I catch some jet stream. I get back a little faster, but the time zone elapse has literally threw me off like crazy. So my first question to you, right, and the one I ask myself is, how in the heck could we be this example of what these influencers, gurus, life coaches want to teach us? Although I think pure intent, but how practical is it? How many people are you coaching like me that have that type of schedule that literally, I can't wake up at the same time every day. I'm not going to I can't do that. It's not in the cards for me. I actually sometimes don't sleep at all. I'm not suggesting that you do that. It's just, that's the nature of the beast. I've literally had to come back from the West Coast, roll into HQ here where we're filming this podcast, walk in right to a meeting and get to it. And so I might go home and crash out right after I put my kids to bed that evening at 8:00. And then I'm waking up at 4 the next day. Okay, I might wake up at 9 another day. Life is too unpredictable. It's too chaotic for me to say, hey, do the same thing every single day. Besides, I tried that routine. I don't know about you. That's boring. To wake up at the same time, do the same thing, be this predictable robot that just kind of I'm just chugging through life because this is my habit, this is my routine. No, we're more spontaneous than that. We need more from life than that. So I've got a tip for you, or maybe a philosophy or something that you can take away from this, and that's, when you are awake, how productive are you? When you are awake, had you anticipated your routine? When you're awake, do you know what camp time you're going to go to when you touch down in Seattle for work? Oh, there's no gyms in Seattle. We have Burn Boot Camp on demand for that, right? You can schedule your Burn Boot Camp on demand camps, and you can keep up with your Keep Moving Club. You don't have to break that streak because you have on demand. Are you anticipating these things? Are you planning out where burn is versus where burn isn't? Are you planning out where I'm going to go on demand versus where I'm not? Are you planning out your travel? When I travel to Salt Lake City and then I come back and I have that kind of chaotic time zone infected problem, right? I'm just trying to be productive when I'm awake. If I'm tired at 8 p.m., I'm going to go to sleep, okay? But when I do go out there, I'm going to bring a supplement bag with me. Like I said, I'm going to have my Burn Boot Camp on demand. I'm going to know where all my gyms are. I'm going to have some destinations for meals. I'll go to Chipotle. I'll get double chicken, white rice, avocado. That's it. That's my go-to. I'll go to Starbucks. Now, egg white bites aren't like the healthiest form of protein, but better than Burger King. Chick-fil-A is definitely not healthy. Everybody in the Southeast, because Chick-fil-A is born in Atlanta, I want to say, oh, I'm eating healthy. I went to Chick-fil-A. Have you ever seen the ingredient profile of a Chick-fil-A sandwich? Not healthy, y'all. Not healthy. It's fried chicken. And it's genetically modified fried chicken. It's not a healthy thing just because it says Chick-fil-A. So we've got to anticipate, we got to know where we're going, and we've got to make a plan. And if you don't anticipate, you don't have power. If you don't have power, you don't have progress. So anticipation then is progress. All right, so the last thing that I'm going to lead you with when we're talking about this keeping a fitness routine on the go, traveling, is just executing when you're awake, doing what you said you're going to do, executing when you're awake. Here's the last part about it, is there's going to be like 50% of the time where you don't feel like it. And what are you going to tell yourself in order for you to go to the gym when you landed in Salt Lake City? You don't want to go. You're super tired. You actually hate the thought of going at that moment in time. What's the mechanism for you to get there? And again, I'm going to go back to anticipation, but anticipate how you're going to feel after you go get that 45-minute camp done. How are you going to feel afterward? Project a positive emotion that you're going to feel. and then try to live in that state in the now. Other than that, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that there's a mechanism to be perfect. We don't like perfectionism around here. And I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that, every day is going to be great. And, just stay consistent and, 21 days to form a habit. And after 21 days, you're going to feel so great, you're never going to want to turn backwards. I want to turn backward 50% of the time. But we don't, because we anticipate what would happen to our lives if we were a person that only executed 50% of the things we promised ourselves. Not an existence I think any of us want to live. So there's my 2 cents or 10 minutes on how to keep your fitness routine when you go and you travel. The punchline is, it's hard, but you're worth it. 2 claps on 2. 1, 2.